Hi guys, good morning. So I got some time to kill. I'm on the road and I'm driving. So I wanted to talk about building in the Philippines. If you've watched my channel, you know that I don't do a lot of advice vlogs like some of these other foreigners who live here in the Philippines like to dole out advice to the world about how to live here. I'm not one of those guys. Just to each his own. You know, everybody has their own methods. You know. So I really don't like to give advice on this channel. But the one thing I do have experience with is building a house in the Philippines. So here it goes. It's not going to be too detailed, but I'm just going to kind of point out a couple of things, right? So number one, what do I feel is the biggest mistake I made in building a house here in the Philippines? So number one, my biggest mistake, and I thought about this a lot, is it's kind of twofold. It's kind of a two answers to this question. So my biggest mistake building in the Philippines, number one, is not building a wall around the property first before I started the project. In hindsight, I look back and I say that's the biggest mistake I made. Not the first thing I should have done is after I cleared the lot is build a wall and a fence and a gate, so the property is 100% secured. That, without a doubt, is my biggest mistake. Sorry, driving. It's a little hectic here in the morning. So building in the Philippines, the biggest mistake is not building a wall immediately once the lot was cleared. And then to go along with that, I should have built a small NEPA style house for Lynn and I and the kids. And that's really easy to do. And you can make a nice one, and it can be done in a couple of weeks. Not very hard to do. The only problem with that is we wouldn't have had a toilet. You could have to do the septic tank. But I guess I could have built a small septic tank separate from the house plans for that. So that's my next time I build in the Philippines, which I might sell this property in a few years and buy something. I already have my eye on another lot here. I haven't found out how much it is though. A couple of lots, and maybe I'll do a video in the future about where my next home where I'd like to be here in the Philippines. So the first thing is if you're building here in the Philippines, the best recommendation I can give to you guys, the best advice out of everything, is to build your wall first. Get your wall up, the entire wall, the fence, the gate, everything, to make sure it's locked and secured. That is the first thing you should do. Second thing is you got to build yourself a little place to live on the property, and it's really not hard to do. The NEPA materials here are pretty cheap, and you can give yourself a nice fan. You got to get that temporary electricity going. Lynn and I could have lived for free for almost a whole year if we had a nice little house, nice little NEPA style house to live in. I could even put air conditioning in there if I wanted to, instead of renting next door, which is what we should have done. But looking back, in the beginning, I was very naive, and I always admit when I'm wrong. I admit my mistakes. I'm not hard-headed like that. I am hard-headed, but I'm not. I mean, I can always admit when I've done something wrong and I made a mistake. And looking back, it's the biggest mistake I made, because when I got here, when I bought the lot, we had no intention on building a fence or a wall. Until our neighbors started stealing our things. And into this very day, it's still going on. So the wall is almost done. The fence is almost done. And I assume it'll stop, hopefully, once that's all up. And it's kind of my fault, because I made it easy pickings for them. because you trust people, that you think they're your friends. That you think you treat someone like a family member, and you don't get treated back as a family member. As nice as people are to your face, there's a small. This isn't everybody, and I don't speak about this with everybody, because 99% of the people that I know here in the Philippines, including all the people that live in my neighborhood, are the most loving, honest, caring people probably you'll ever find in the world. But there's always that one bad apple in the whole group, and that's what it kind of boils down to. Anyways, let's move on. Let's stay on track here. This is advice of building in the Philippines. So you got to get your wall up, guys, and you got to get your wall up, guys. I don't see too many of those here. That thing looks like something from the 1970s. So you got to get your wall up and build yourself a little place to live, so you can oversee your construction. The second mistake I made was giving the foreman too much leeway. The first mistake he made, I should have fired him right there and then, but I didn't. And you know why I didn't? Because I was too nervous that I might not find a better foreman or a good foreman or whatever. You can't be like that. Everybody is replaceable. You have to keep that in mind. Everybody on your crew is replaceable. There's hundreds of thousands of people here on the island, and a lot of them are looking for work. It might take you a little bit longer, but you can find the good workers here. The mistake I made with my foreman is that he we paid him to be a working foreman, and he didn't do any work. We could have just paid him 550 pesos, not 600. Would have been the same. We would have got the same outcome. And I kept him on too long because Lynn and I, we were our own contractors. We only needed what we only needed the foreman for was to get started. He was good about placing the houses where they needed to be on the lot, because he could read the plans, the architectural plans. And he's really good at the structural part of the building. Structural, and by that I mean the columns and the beams. After the columns and the beams were up, he was useless. But I kept him on for almost the whole project, which was a huge waste of money. So if you're going to build yourself and you're going to get a foreman, my suggestion is you make a deal with him that you only keep him to get up the structural part of the property. Or I don't know if he would even take the job if you told him that. But I would have, in hindsight, I would have let the foreman go right after the beams were done. Because after that, he didn't do anything. And his job as a foreman is to oversee all the workers, and he didn't oversee anybody. Because some of the walls aren't put in like 90 degrees to each other. So they have an unevenness to them. The bathroom floors weren't poured properly. They were poured too high. You have to, that here in the Philippines, the shower floor has to be lower than the rest of the tile floor, because everything stays so the water stays in the shower. So he poured everything at one level, and that made it difficult for the guys putting in the tiles. So that'd be my other advice. If you're gonna build yourself, get yourself a good foreman, or you can be your own foreman. You can just manage the workers yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's just about concrete. It's concrete in working with the rebar. And then you can find yourself a good mason to put up your walls. Get yourself a good electrician. And a good plumber. We did everything ourselves. We made mistakes, but in the end, we do have a really nice place with very minimal issues. Very minimal. We worked out most of the bugs. So what other advice can I give you about building in the Philippines? you know, do you want to, I mean, I hear this a lot and on other sites. Well, where do you want to live? Do you want to live in the woods? Do you want to live in the ocean? Do you want to live on a farm? I mean, that's common sense. I shouldn't have to say that. I shouldn't, no one should take up people's time and energy by making a vlog telling them the first thing they should do is figure out where you want to live, in the jungle, the woods, a farm. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's common sense. You should already know that from day one, where you want to live. Me, I couldn't live anywhere near but near the beach. There's no way. I could never live where Brian and Marisol are. It's just not who I am. But that's Brian and Marisol. That's their place. That's their dream house. That's their dream place. It's Brian's dream, and I'm happy for him that he's able to, you know, at this point in his life, fulfill some of his dreams. And for me, it's the beach. So you shouldn't have to. No one should have to explain to you if you're buying a property in the Philippines. Well, where do you want to live? In the mountains or the jungle or the ocean? You should already know that. If you don't know that, then buying a place here in the Philippines is a big mistake. So, next. What's next? Hollow blocks. So hollow blocks is a huge issue here in the Philippines. What you have to remember, and you have to remember this, that the hollow blocks, the walls, have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the structural component of the house. Nothing at all. Your wall could fall down and it wouldn't affect a damn thing about your house. The wall is nothing but a barrier between the inside and the outside. And, you know, you put some rendering on it. They call it rendering, which is just another coat of cement. And if it's not done right, so if that coat of cement isn't put on properly, then you're screwed. Everything will start crumbling underneath the wall. You'll get cracks and you'll get these hollow spots because the cement will start pulling away from the hollow block if it's not put on properly. So, unless you want all cracks in your walls, or you want your cement falling off the walls, you have to really pay attention to how they're putting on the rendering. It's got to be kept wet. It can't dry too fast. If it dries really fast, then you're screwed. And here's the mistake that I made with the rendering, because it took us so long to get our roof up. These guys did all the rendering in the sun before the roof was up. And what happened after that? Of course, it dried so fast. No one kept the wall wet because they could care less. And we got we got a lot of cracking. And some of the walls had to be redone after the roof was put up. Some of the walls had to be redone. And that's just one of the mistakes that we made. Allowing them to, because they had nothing to do, so they're doing the rendering. Because we took forever to get the roof done because we're doing everything ourselves. And it's hard to find the materials. We had to find a good welder. We had to find the trusses. Lynn, what did Lynn do? She went to Cebu. I wasn't even here when she did all this. She went to Cebu and got this heavy duty metal for the trusses. I don't know what gauge metal it is, but it's fucking heavy. So far, I haven't seen a lot of construction, but some of the places that I've seen going that are under construction don't have any of this kind of metal on their roof. So it took us a bit of time to get the roof up. But we have a roof that's going to last probably for the next 30, 40, maybe 50 years. And I mean that. Maybe longer. So the other advice, so the next part of the advice is, don't let them put the rendering on the walls. I wouldn't. I mean, I think I've seen some other videos where they do the rendering right away, no matter what. But I personally wouldn't let them do any rendering until, if it was me doing another house, no rendering done on the walls until the roof is up, so they can be in the shade, so the cement won't dry so fast. So that's now guys, I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments from people who have a lot more experience than me, and that's well and good. Everybody make their comments about what's good and what's bad. I'm just telling you what I learned here with my personal experience here in the Philippines. I get comments all the time. I laid tiles for 100 years. You're doing it all wrong. I don't know anything about tiles, but so far, my tiles, it's been, what, I don't know how many months, almost a year, not quite. Another 3 or 4 months, it'll be a whole year. And I don't have any issues with any of my tiles. When I do, and if I do, I'll film it and I'll let you know, so we can figure out what went wrong. But as of right now, I don't have a single issue, not with one tile, not one. So rendering, if you're gonna do rendering, try to not let them do any rendering until the roof is up, and watch that rendering to make sure that it's put on properly. It's got to be put on slowly, so that it doesn't, or quickly, I forget which one it is, so that it doesn't dry. It can't dry too fast. In the hollow blocks, so getting back to the hollow blocks, that you don't really need strong hollow blocks, and you don't need big ones. The bigger your hollow blocks are, the bigger the space is that you got to fill with cement. It's going to cost you a fortune to fill that sucker up. And you don't need it. Why do you need all that cement inside those hollow blocks? For what? So you can prevent a tank from walking through your house? It doesn't make any sense. You don't need big jumbo hollow blocks, because all you're doing is wasting money, because you're putting more cement in the holes. The other theory is, well, if your hollow blocks aren't really good and they crumble, then the wall will crumble and the rendering will crumble off of it. And so I don't know what the truth is, but what I've heard is as long as the rendering goes on properly, that's not going to happen. But what I would have done, but you can pay a little bit extra. I think we paid 11 pesos per hollow block. If you want, you can pay about 18 pesos per hollow block, and they'll mix more cement into the mixture. And I did that for a time being for, I think it was the storage house or something like that. And then what happens is they give you the first batch, right? Properly, done properly. And then they start sneaking in the shitty hollow blocks, and you're paying for the 18 peso. So, you know, there's nothing you can do. And so I stopped getting the expensive hollow blocks. Because they'll throw in the first load, you'll get, oh, these are great hollow blocks. And then when you got to order another 300 hollow blocks, these are shitty hollow blocks. What happened? And that's the Philippines. So my advice is just stick with the cheap hollow blocks. You don't need expensive ones. Now, other people might differ. That's fine. Everyone has their opinion. What you need here in the Philippines to have a good, safe structure house that's not going to blow down or get ruined in an earthquake, you got to have deep columns. The columns have to be dug deep, and they have to be done with that really thick, heavy-duty rebar. And the beams the same way. So if your columns and your beams are done properly, I mean, if you were to overdo anything in the construction here in the Philippines, overdo your columns and your beams. That's it. Spend your money. If you want to waste your money, waste it on columns and beams, because that's where you need it. And then the roof, electrical and plumber. All I can say is good luck with that. Finding a real electrician and a real plumber here is like looking for a needle in a haystack, because everybody here is an electrician and a plumber, but none of them are licensed or have any type of formal education. My electrician is an actual electrician, and he did a great job. And the plumber goes to seminars all the time. He works for the town. He did a good job, but some of the things were leaking that he did. Okay, but he came back immediately, redid it, fixed it. We don't have any leaks, but a lot of the things that he initially did were leaking, like the drains, some of the connections. only because he's got another job and he's just rushing. But I can't blame him for that. I don't have anything. The plumber was awesome. I love him. He's great. Any problems we have, he comes right out that day, fixes it. Nothing. So no issues there. No issues with the plumber or electricity. Neri was a blessing. He was our electrician. He helped us with Bohico because he had connections there. And if it wasn't for him, we would have been still waiting for our transformer and maybe even our electrical hookups. So, without saying, everyone should know, I mean, it's just common sense that you got to get a really good electrician and a really good plumber here in the Philippines. That will be your biggest hurdle, I think. Me personally, I think your biggest hurdle for building here in the Philippines will be finding a really good quality electrician and plumber. Especially if you have a system like I have, where you have a pressure tank. Because most people here don't have pressure tanks. So they just use the crappy PVC pipes, and you don't really need a good connection because there's no pressure going through the lines. But here, if you have a pressure tank, you gotta buy the expensive PVC, PPR pipes. And then you gotta have them cemented together, glued really tight. Otherwise, they're just gonna blow apart. So that's it. That's about as far as I'm gonna take this video. I hope that helps some people. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not very formal and organized sometimes, and sometimes I am. Depends what it is, but off the cuff, just speaking, those are the things that come to my mind. So good luck if you're building in the Philippines. I wish you the best of luck. Don't be afraid to jump in. Don't overthink it. Just stay focused. Don't lose your cool. You have to have a lot of patience. You can't yell at your workers. If there's a problem, you got to go through your girlfriend or your wife, and then your wife does the yelling. Because the Filipino men are very deathly scared of Filipino women. That's what I've learned. So you can't confront your workers directly. You can't. You have to do it through your wife. And all will be well. So just remember, at the end of the day, it all works out. It all finds a way. It all works. At the end, it'll all work out. No matter how many snags you have. So good luck, everybody. It's a beautiful day. I wish I was out fishing. The water's flat calm. Oh, by the way, I heard that there was a fast craft that sank yesterday from Bohol to Cebu. Because yesterday morning the waves were humongous. But today there's nothing. There's no waves. Hope everybody was okay on that fast craft. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for subscribing. See you on the next video.